My name is Olivia and I am 40 years old now. Today I want to share my story. It's not an easy one to tell, but it's my truth. Sometimes the weight of my past feels too heavy to carry, but maybe by sharing it I will find some relief. Maybe someone listening will understand. Let me take you back to when I was 18. I was a quiet, dreamy girl living in a small village. My family was traditional and believed that a woman's greatest duty was to marry and take care of her husband and children. Love, they told me, was a luxury. Respect, duty, and family were what truly mattered. But I had dreams, small, fragile dreams. I wanted to see the world, study, live in a big city, and feel alive. Those dreams came to an abrupt end the day my parents told me they had arranged my marriage. His name was Daniel. He was 25, a schoolteacher, and came from a good family. My parents smiled as they told me how lucky I was. He's kind, stable, and will take care of you, they said. But all I could think was, what about love? What about me? A week later I met Daniel. He was polite, soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He asked if I liked reading and if I needed anything. I answered, but my heart remained silent. I already knew what was coming. A month later we were married. The wedding was grand. Flowers, music, and hundreds of guests. Everyone said I looked beautiful, but I didn't feel beautiful. I felt like a stranger in my own life. I smiled because I had to, but inside I was screaming. I wanted to run, to say, "This isn't what I want." But I didn't. I stayed silent. After the wedding, we moved into Daniel's house. It was small but cozy. He tried to make me comfortable. He would ask if I liked the color of the curtains or if I wanted a new chair for the living room. "It's fine," I always said. What else could I say? He was kind, but I didn't love him. One evening, as we sat at the dinner table, he asked, "Olivia, are you happy here?" I looked at him, startled. Was I happy? How could I answer that? I forced a smile. "Yes, of course." He nodded, but his eyes searched mine. "If there's anything you want, just tell me. I want you to feel at home." I nodded, but inside I thought, this will never feel like home. At night, I would lie awake staring at the ceiling, listening to his soft breathing beside me. I felt trapped in a life I didn't choose. I wanted to cry, but I was too exhausted to even do that. A year into our marriage, his family started asking about children. His mother would visit and say, "It's time for a baby. A child will bring you closer together." Daniel would smile and nod, but I felt panic rise in my chest. I didn't want a baby. I wasn't ready. I didn't even know who I was. How could I be a mother? One night I told Daniel, "I don't think I'm ready for a baby." He looked surprised but not angry. "Why not?" he asked gently. I'm not ready," I whispered, looking down at my hands. He reached across the table and took my hands in his. "I understand, but my parents, they're expecting it. They keep asking. Maybe it's time." I wanted to scream, "What about what I want?" But I didn't. Like always, I nodded. "Okay," I said softly. Few months later I was pregnant. Everyone was thrilled. Daniel's mother cried tears of joy. Daniel himself was happier than I had ever seen him. But I wasn't happy. I felt like I was sinking deeper and deeper into a life that wasn't mine. During my pregnancy, I avoided mirrors. I couldn't stand to see my reflection. But one day, I caught a glimpse of myself by accident. I stopped and stared. My face was pale, my eyes empty. I looked like a ghost. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. I placed a hand on my growing belly and whispered, "Who are you? Where did you go?" I wanted to cry, but no tears came. I just stood there, feeling a deep, hollow sadness I couldn't escape. I gave birth to a baby boy. We named him Ethan. He was perfect, tiny, soft, and beautiful. When I held him, I felt a flicker of something, a small spark of love. But it wasn't enough to fill the emptiness inside me. 2 years later, we had another child, a girl named Lily. She was just as perfect as Ethan. I loved my children deeply, but I couldn't escape the feeling that I was living someone else's life. Daniel and I rarely talked about anything meaningful. Our conversations became routine. "Did you sleep well?" he would ask in the morning. "Yes," I would reply, even if I hadn't. "Do you need anything from the store?" he would ask in the evening. "No, I'm fine," I'd say, even if I wasn't. I kept everything inside. My sadness, my anger, my longing for a different life. I was too afraid to speak. What would people say if I left? What would Daniel's family think? What would my own family think? Years passed and my children grew up. One night, after my 39th birthday party, Daniel found me sitting in the kitchen, staring at nothing. He sat down across from me and said, "Olivia, what's wrong? I know you're not happy." I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't. The words came pouring out. "I'm not happy, Daniel. I haven't been happy for years. I never wanted this life. I never wanted to marry you. I never wanted children. I wanted something different." His face turned pale. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I was afraid," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Afraid of what people would say. Afraid of hurting you. Afraid of everything." Daniel was silent for a long time. Finally he said, "I've always known. Thought maybe you'd grow to love me. But I see now that I was wrong." His words broke something inside me. I started sobbing, and for the first time in years I let myself feel all the pain, all the sadness, all the regret. The next morning I packed a small bag. I told Ethan and Lily that I loved them and that I would see them every weekend. I hugged them tightly, tears streaming down my face. Daniel stood by the door watching. "Take care of yourself, Olivia," he said. "You deserve to be happy." I nodded, unable to speak. Then I walked out the door and into a world I didn't recognize. A world full of fear, uncertainty, and possibility. It has been a year since I left. I live in a small apartment now. It's not much, but it's mine. I've started painting again, something I loved as a girl. I see Ethan and Lily every weekend, and they are happy. Leaving wasn't easy. There were days when I doubted myself. But I've learned that bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about taking a step forward, even when you're scared. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm living for myself. And while the future is uncertain, I know one thing for sure. I will never lose myself again.